Robert Costa, Washington Post national political reporter, as well as an MSNBC political analyst, and Mieke Eoyang, vice president for the National Security Program at the centrist think tank Third Way. She was also a staff member on the House Intelligence Committee. Bob, to you first. In the hearing today, the FBI Director Chris Wray was asked specifically if President Trump has ever asked him to disrupt Russian meddling. Here's how he answered.
We're taking a lot of specific efforts to blunt Russian
directed by the president?
Not as specifically directed by the president.
So why hasn't President Trump actively done anything about what his entire intelligence team unanimously agrees was Russia interference in our election?
Because the president continues to be skeptical about something his own intelligence community and the Justice Department have considered to be fact, that Russia did meddle in the 2016 election. And because of that, you see the FBI and other entities in the U.S. government working to try to counter any kind of future Russian interference. It's just not a White House priority, that is to be sure, and that was reconfirmed today by that testimony.
Here was Mark Warner a little while ago. This is exactly what he said during that testimony today. Take a listen.
Do you agree with Director Pompeo that we haven't seen a significant decrease in the Russian activity, and we have every expectation, and I think Director Coach, you've already alluded to this, that they'll try to continue to intervene in our elections in 2018 and 2020?
I participated in that 2017 work. I stood by it then. I stand by it now, and I agree with Director Pompeo. This is not going to change or stop.
General Ashley?
Yes, it is not going to change, nor is it going to stop.
Throughout the entire community, we have not seen any evidence of any significant change from last year.
So, Mieke, they go down the lineup, and every one of the members of the intelligence community, America's top spies, all agree they did it once. They're going to do it again if they're not already doing it. They are doing it even as we speak right now. The president's sort of in action on this. What message is that sending to those in Russia and, frankly, elsewhere trying to disrupt our elective processes?
It's clear the president doesn't believe that this is a problem. He's not doing anything proactive to stop it. And not only that, the steps that Congress took to say we've got to send Russia a very strong message that this is unacceptable by imposing sanctions, the president said, I don't want to impose them. He's trying to prevent any kind of accountability to be put on Russia, a country that believes in cheating in everything, in the Olympics and everything else.
But, Bob, what's striking is the president even yesterday had a conversation with Vladimir Putin, but we, the White House press corps, learned about it from the Kremlin, from Vladimir Putin's side, the White House itself not disclosing that information. Does the White House recognize how that is viewed by wide circles within this country when the president is not more forthright about that relationship with Vladimir Putin?
Certainly they recognize it, but they also choose to be isolated. If you think about both major parties, Democrats and Republicans, have taken a much more hawkish approach when it comes to Russia. The intelligence community, the Justice Department of the federal government have taken a similar tack in the sense that they see Russia as a hostile threat when it comes to interfering in elections. And this is just something the administration is out on a limb on when it comes to both political questions and federal questions about how to handle this issue.
Mieke, here's what Angus King, the senator from Maine, said about the president's handling of Russian meddling.
I talk to people in Maine who say the whole thing is a witch hunt and it's a hoax because the president told me. We cannot confront this threat, which is a serious one, with a whole of government response when the leader of the government continues to deny that it exists.
So with the president continuing to deny, as he says, that it exists, what can be done? I mean, is there something that the U.S. can do further right now to try to, I don't know, avoid history from repeating itself?
Yeah, there are a number of things that the government could be doing. In addition to implementing those sanctions that Congress has already passed, they could be aggressively prosecuting some of these Russian hackers, and some of them who are even located in places other than Russia, like Macedonia. They could be working with the tech companies to shut down some of these fake accounts. They could be helping state election systems secure their cyber infrastructure, and they could be working with campaigns to try and help them make sure that they are secure.
But all these need, at the end of the day, they need Trump administration sign-off. Not just the sanctions that needs the president's sign-off, but they broadly need the White House's agreement that we want to take this active and aggressive position. Are we doing some of these things right now that are not getting a lot of publicity?
So DHS is trying to do some of these things, but without direction from the top, how far can they go? How much are they getting in the way of resources to support these efforts? A lot of these cybersecurity efforts to secure information technology can be very expensive. And if they're not supported in the budget or with direction from the top, they can't really do what needs to be done.
So if not supported in the budget, or as you say, in other means by activities being led by the administration, DOJ and others, what is the real risk? At the end of the day, what is the potential threat to the 2018 midterm and perhaps beyond?
So what's really happening here is the Russians are trying to take away the choice from the American people about who their leaders are. And they're trying to pick our leaders for us by interfering in our election, by pushing certain kinds of candidates that they think are after Russia's interests and not America's interest. And that's not what our country should be about.
What is Bob, just to wrap this up, what does the White House say about assessments like that Russia is? Obviously, the president's defiant in the face of any suggestion that this had an impact or undermines his election. But what do they say broadly about the impact that it could have in the future to undermine the democracy here at large?
They're just not tackling those kind of questions inside of the White House. They have members of the administration, Director Pompeo, Director Coates, who are answering these questions from Congress about these important issues. But at the same time, because the Russia probe remains the one major cloud, there are several clouds, but one major cloud over this administration, they just refuse to engage with it in an extensive policy way because they see it has a political implication for their own legitimacy.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. Bob Costa and Mieke Eoyang. Mieke, thanks. Nice to see you here. Thank you both. The FBI